No one can really ever prevent a bad thing happening to a good brand or a good company or a good person. But what we can prevent is the possibility of the fallout that might arise out of the inevitable. In other words, it's not if a crisis will happen, but it's when a crisis will happen. And the best way is to prepare. You know, much like you do your annual physical exam, or much like the way you prepare for a marathon, or much like how you do your annual business planning. It's unthinkable for many brands to go into a fiscal year and not do your annual strategic planning. And yet, how many companies actually go through and prepare and undertake a risk registry? You'd be stunned. 9 out of 10 of the companies whom we've had to get out of a crisis were actually ill-prepared to go into it. So preparedness is the key. When you are going through a crisis, you cannot be planning for what your next steps are going to be, because you are unobjective, you are very emotional, you are usually reactive, and therefore we don't expect you to make the best decisions. But when you plan it in advance, everything is in a playbook. You actually have a playbook and a set of rules that you follow if one scenario, 2 scenario, 3 scenario happens. So lack of preparedness is one. The second is knee-jerk reactions, no? Being too emotional and assuming that when external forces critique you during a crisis, that it's something personal. Because when you think it's something personal, then you don't become objective and you react and become defensive. And when you are seen as defensive by the public, then you are seen as hiding something or doing something wrong. Resiliency through interesting times, a brand advocacy, and more importantly, a social higher purpose.